EdTech Mondays Kenya is supported by the MasterCard Foundation Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning in partnership with EdTech East Africa.
Welcome to another exciting edition of EdTech Mondays Kenya, coming to you from the vibrant coastal city of Mombasa. This time, we are at the Pwani EdTech Summit, where innovators, thought leaders, and policymakers are engaging in insightful discussions on the future of EdTech. We'll also take a deep dive into Section 5 of Kenya's policy on information and communication technology in education and training, which focuses on resource mobilization and partnerships. So we ask, how can we ensure the long-term sustainability of EdTech solutions? Who funds EdTech? And what role do partnerships play in scaling digital learning? Well, thank you very much for joining us on this edition of EdTech Mondays Kenya. My name is Ian Wafula. Now, before we get right into it, how about we take a look at some of the key terms that you'll hear us refer to throughout this show. We start off with resource mobilization. This is a process of gathering financial, human, and material resources to support the effective implementation of EdTech in learning. This includes funding from government budgets, private sector investments, and community contribution. Then we have public-private partnerships, also known as PPPs. These are the collaborative agreements between government entities and private sector to fund, develop, and implement ICT initiatives in education. These partnerships help scale EdTech solutions sustainably. Finally, we have sustainable impact, which refers to the ability of EdTech to continuously improve learning outcomes and accessibility over the long term without reliance on short-term funding or unsustainable interventions. Now, with that in mind, let's take a look at Kenya's ICT Policy 2021, specifically Chapter 5, which talks about resource mobilization as well as partnerships. What does the policy say? How can we cultivate partnerships? And also, who is funding EdTech learning in Kenya?
Yeah, Paul Odhiambo, the ICT lead for capacity building and matters EdTech solutions at the Ministry of Education headquarters. We primarily champion use of ICT in managing education data and at the same time pushing matters digital skilling in education landscape.
One of the ministry's intention is obviously, resource mobilization and partnership, which is what is captured in the ICT Policy 2021. How important is it and how is the government implementing this?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, the element of resource mobilization and partnership has greatly contributed towards the government's effort to accelerating teaching and learning within education space. And we are glad so many our partners have plugged in so far and pushed issues to do with connectivity, teacher capacity building and training and skilling of education managers to help understand the role of technology in education and largely speaking to help bridge some of the challenges and key gaps in education space, challenges to do with access to education and equity in learning.
How does the government prioritize ICT budgetary allocations in schools?
It's huge, and it's not only just in schools. It's across government. The ICT budget is ever there. We have both funds to help scale ICT operations, and also funds for capacity building the ICT officers, and teachers themselves at the last mile, what I would call last mile, have also greatly benefited from ICT capacity building initiatives, So all those wouldn't have been possible without funding. Funding from government, funding from the ministry, and funding from our, development partners.
Yeah, and obviously another way to address this kind of difference here is working with the private sector. How's government ensuring that this is happening?
Yeah, we've always been open, to working with the private sector, and not only the private sector, even with the community, you see, because some of these initiatives are domiciled at the community level. So I know there's the element of PPP. We're also trying to embrace the new kid in the block, the PP CP, that is private, public, and community partnerships. You see, because without the community element, then driving this at the grassroots, driving this at the last mile would pose a challenge.
We've just heard from Paulo Dhiambo on how policies are shaping the future of EdTech in Kenya. But policies alone aren't enough. Real transformation happens when innovative organizations step in to bridge the gaps and turn these strategies into action. One such organization leading the way is EdTech East Africa. Through strategic partnerships with both governments and private stakeholders, they're equipping young learners with critical digital skills and opening doors to future opportunities. This robotica, which I'm actually very, very obsessed with, was put together by EdTech East Africa, and it brought about a number of collaborators who assembled it from this particular kit. So how did EdTech East Africa do it, and what lessons can we learn from them?
My name is Paul Akwabi. I'm the founder, executive director, and head of partnership at EdTech East Africa. And EdTech East Africa is basically a technology academy that capacity build teachers and also learners who are very curious to come up with innovation using technology.
Yeah, so I'm curious, maybe talk us through some of the programs that you actually run.
Yeah, so at EdTech East Africa, we run program actually segmented into, first of all, 3, then I'll break them down. So we have coding, robotics, and AI for children. Then we are having a critical area we focus on, which is online safety and cyber security, because as much as we're giving the curiosity, we need to be able to also control or curb the outcome of it. Then on the third thing that we focus on is on generally the educators, who are the teachers. And this is because we capacity build the teachers so that they are able to handle the kind of children that we are expecting. And also the teachers are key people who are assisting our children to prepare for the future of work. So we have segmented majorly into 3, but in all the 3, again, we are having other sub-programs that support the teachers. Like, for example, the teachers, we are having teachers learning AI and taking it into the classroom, AI safety, and also they are having the ICT integration, which is computing curriculum, and also how to run coding clubs also in the classroom.
Today we're just discussing about the Kenyan government's policy on ICT, which chapter 5, which talks about partnerships and resource mobilization and mainly collaboration. So over the years, since you started EdTech East Africa, how has collaboration and partnership worked for you?
Actually, I think 80% of even EdTech East Africa is collaboration in almost every aspect, even in terms of how our programs are designed. You get that majorly, if I can angle with the government, you get that we tend to align our curriculums, our content according to also what the government has put in place. Like, for example, on the CBC. So we tend to also work according to that particular as information. We work also with the other global organizations, leading organizations in terms of curriculum development, and try to look at also other trends that are coming.
What does the future of resource mobilization and partnerships look like for you in Kenya? I mean, you've talked about some strides and obviously there's some good work being done, but is that enough?
That is not enough. And I think I would like to use this moment. I know the government will be looking into also this program, or they'll be bumped into it. If the government is able to privatize some bit of education ecosystem, especially science and technology, this is because of the dynamic aspect of these particular areas. Then our country is able to grow faster, is able to be very adaptable according to how the industry also grows. And this is simply because the current policies that are there in the government take a lot of time before they change. For example, the curriculums in classroom take more than 10 years to at least change to a different curriculum. Yes, and technology, almost every year there's something new that is coming. But now you get that with that rigidness in the government policies, which we do understand at some point, it will be a bit hard for them to make a lot of changes. But if they privatize some of them to organizations like Tech Kids and just others that are on tech savvy. We are able to make that particular area of growth in education and technology more faster and more impactful even in the community.
Hearing from Tech Kids Africa, it's clear that partnerships and innovations are driving positive change in EdTech. But beyond organizations and policy, there's another crucial pillar in this conversation: parents. At the heart of every child's learning journey are the parents and guardians who support them. So how can parents leverage on the policy on resource mobilization and partnerships to navigate the challenges of EdTech learning in Kenya? And how can they also maximize opportunities for their children? Let's find out.
So my name is Masi Borioki. I'm the Chief Growth Officer at Recess, and Recess promotes parental empowerment and engagement.
Other than being a chief officer, you're also a parent. So this is a good moment for you to kind of combine both. How have parents been considered in the EdTech ecosystem? Are there challenges when it comes to that?
Yeah, I feel that parents have been left out, being that when we go to the EdTech summits or spaces, parents have no voice in there. We don't see parents. We mostly interact with teachers or school admins, or we interact with the donors and funders, but the parents have been left out.
Is it a concern to you that they're being left out, and what are you doing?
What we've done is come up with an initiative or an app called Recess that promotes parental engagement. And also we've been backed up by KICD through surveys that they have in our app. So how we are doing this is that we are bringing the teacher to the ecosystem also to be able to communicate seamlessly to the parent. So how we are doing this is through the features, like the survey feature from KICD. We also have homework features where the teacher can communicate to the parent what is happening with my child. So this busy parent then gets that view, the 360 view of what is happening in their child's life.
You yourself are a parent who's very involved in tech, but there are others who are not necessarily, maybe because of time, but they also don't know how to, take advantage of such platforms. What would you advise them?
What I would advise is for us to be able, first of all, to create awareness so that these parents can be able to understand where to get these resources. So I would ask that as Recess ourselves, maybe us first, would start an awareness initiative where we are conducting trainings and telling parents, look, there's a solution, and there are so many solutions in the EdTech space that can help you gather and get the feedback that you need.
And your final message to parents watching this who are probably curious, they want their child to also be very involved with education and technology. They themselves want to support their child. What should they do? What advice do you have for them?
I think what I'll tell a parent is it starts with you. That's the first thing. You are the one who should be engaged, not involved, because engagement is that self-initiative. And if you start from there, then you can be able to figure out the rest. That's what I would say.
Now, hearing from parents about their experiences on how they can be involved in resource mobilization and partnerships is enlightening. But there's another group on the front lines of this transformation, and I'm talking about our teachers. They are the bridge between policy, technology, and students, yet they often face the toughest challenges when integrating EdTech into classrooms. Well, let's now find out from teachers what kind of support they need and what practical solutions will help them maximize partnerships as well as keep them sustainable. So, Teacher Aisha, you have an amazing story. First of all, you're very passionate about teaching kids to a point where now you decided that you're teaching teachers. Tell us a bit about that.
So I started this work back in 2015. I was a teacher for 7 years. But then during the time I was starting to teach, I felt like there was a gap in literacy because I was actually posted in one of the interior areas where children had lacked some basic skills. So I got interested in learning more about literacy. But of course, I learned it from our non-government organizations, and that's how I got to join Aga Khan Foundation, just to help our teachers, like really make an impact to more learners by learning contemporary approaches to learning and to teaching our children.
And to date, you've helped about 4,000 teachers.
Actually, not 4,000. The 4,000 teachers were from 2019 to 2024, or 2024. But I would say approximately more than 15,000 teachers.
That is amazing, because by teaching 15,000 teachers, then you've reached a lot more students with your work.
I want to believe so, because then, of course, we as NGOs or as development, we know that the teacher is our central place. So we get to the teacher, hopefully really supporting the teacher through mentorship, through monitoring, so they can actually help cascade that all learn with the children. We talk of learning with the children because then we don't want the teacher to be a source of knowledge. We want the teacher to be a facilitator. Yes, yeah.
And obviously now we're talking about the teacher being central to the process. And on this episode, we're looking at ICT and, policy on resource mobilization and partnership. And of course, teachers are at the center of it.
Yes.
Do you think that so far they've been part of the process when it comes to IT in schools?
I would want to believe they are part, because I, as an educator, have seen the government training the teachers. I have seen a lot of efforts where the government, through the Ministry of Education, have worked in collaboration with many partners. They have trained, I would say, a percentage of teachers, but not all of the teachers. So yes, I would say their efforts, they have been involved, but there's still room for more to be done, and especially on how do we support school to actually learn from each other and look for resources or mobilize for the resources on their own, other than depending on the government all the time.
When you talk about teachers and their skills, what sort of gaps are there right now that need to be addressed?
If you go to our schools right now, you'll see that the skills in the teachers vary, and this is so predominantly because of their interest, or even because of the resources that are within their reach. So when you, for example, I could talk of school A having teachers who are very skilled because of the practice. Because I also believing that ICT is more like driving. You have to do it in order to perfect your skills and to be able. So yes, they vary, and I've seen that teachers are trying, but however, they still lack support in some of the areas. And so when it comes to especially teachers now being able to use the IT to critically analyze their data, or even critically analyze, let's say, for example, their results, then it is still an issue, but they have seen them using it in teaching and learning.
Listening to teachers, it's clear that while technology is a powerful tool in education, there are challenges that need to be addressed. But beyond these realities, there are also a lot of misconceptions surrounding EdTech that can hold back progress. Well, it's now time to separate fact from fiction by breaking down some of the common myths and misconceptions on the government policy on resource mobilization and partnerships. The first myth is that government is mainly responsible for funding EdTech in schools.
While the government plays a major role, the 2021 ICT in Education and Training Policy encourages everyone to chip in. Businesses, NGOs, communities, and even parents, we all have a role to play to ensure sustainability of EdTech in schools.
The next myth is that EdTech only benefits urban schools while rural schools are left behind.
The goal is to make sure all schools, even those in remote areas, get the same chance to benefit from technology. The government, donors, and partners are working to provide internet, devices, and even training in rural schools as well.
The third myth, parents have no role in supporting EdTech. It's the school's responsibility.
Parental involvement and community engagement actually plays a big role in ensuring successful use of EdTech tools. The policy encourages parental and community participation in mobilizing resources for ICT in education. Whether it's helping their kids use tech at home, joining school discussions, or even pushing for better tools at school, their support really matters.
The fourth myth is that technology will replace teachers in classroom.
Not at all. Tech is here to help teachers, not take their place. It gives them better tools to teach and help students learn in new ways, but teachers are still at the heart of it all.
And the final myth, ICT in education is just about giving students laptops and tablets.
The policy takes a holistic approach. It focuses on training teachers, building strong internet connections, creating good learning content, and making sure schools have what they need to keep using tech long-term.
We've just tackled some myths and misconceptions about EdTech in Kenya. But knowing the facts is just the first step. The real question is, what more can we do? EdTech sustainability isn't just about government and private sector investments, as mentioned in Chapter 5 of the ICT Policy 2021. It also requires active involvement from parents, teachers, and local communities. So what provisions does the policy provide for parental participation? How can parents engage with the government to support the implementation of this policy?
Awareness creation. It's one thing to talk about tech in driving digital skilling, or rather empowering teachers and students. But these are the partner that, if left behind, the parent, you see, the parent must plug into this fold. And over the years, we've rolled out ambitious plans, and I think the parents are duly incorporated into this push through their umbrella unions, and other initiatives that then targets the parents.
So I'm a parent watching this at home. How can I take advantage of it? How can I reach some of the programs that the government is trying to pass?
Massive. We are in the world of tech. I mean, in every home, there's a phone, right? Yeah, and if you look at the stats, smartphones are spread across, and over 80% of the Kenyan population have access to smartphones. So to me, it's a question of how do I leverage the existing tech infrastructure to get information? You see, information of what is happening up, down, and everywhere. So mine is just to encourage all and sundry, parents alike, to leverage the digital resources that we have within their mandate to, one, access learning materials. I mean, there's no harm in the parent encouraging their kids to use their phones to carry out some researches online, provided that such activities are within the confines of data privacy and information controls.
Okay, and if I'm a parent and I would like to give my contribution to the ministry, for instance, how can I do that?
Oh, we have a website. I mean, the ministry is public. The ministry is everywhere. If you go to education.go.ke, that's our website. There's a comment section. So, and it's not just to the parents, it's for members of the public. For example, if I want to know the number of schools in a particular region, I can go to nemis.education.go.ke, and then there's a public portal for, getting to know of some of the institutions around us. So we are heavy on tech, and it's just a small, the gap that is there that has everything to do with sensitization. Are we sensitized enough to get to know of the digital resources around us?
One thing is clear, sustaining digital learning isn't just about policies and funding. It's about collective action. Parents, teachers, communities, and innovators all have a role to play in ensuring that EdTech continues to grow and create impact. And that is exactly what we've seen here at the Pwani EdTech Summit. Stakeholders coming together, exchanging ideas, and forging partnerships. But before we leave, let's take a look at some of the key highlights from this amazing gathering.
Welcome to the second Pwani EdTech Summit 2025. My name is
This is a day about sharing your wisdom, your voices. You have heard our colleagues from the ministry are here because they want to hear from you. What is working? What is missing? What do we need to do differently? Collectively, how can we solve our challenges in a better way?
My expectation for this Pwani EdTech Summit is to see how practical the emerging trends can be dealt with, especially these trends, like for example, artificial intelligence in education.
I'm really hoping that the educators that are here will get the knowledge and skills that they can be able to transfer that to the classroom.
I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation from the organizers of Pwani EdTech Summit 2025 for providing this platform for all of us to learn. Let us seize the opportunity to forge lasting partnership, share innovative ideas, and work towards a future where technology will be a foundation to education.
Well, that is it for this edition of EdTech Mondays Kenya. Let's keep the conversation going. Join us on the hashtag EdTech Mondays. A special thanks to our sign language interpreter, Ms. Rose Omolo. My name is Ian Ofula. Until next time, goodbye.
EdTech Mondays Kenya is supported by the MasterCard Foundation Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning in partnership with EdTech East Africa.